Well, good morning. Good morning. Success is a choice. That's the premise of today. Like how well anybody does at anything in life, I really believe is completely by attitude. Like if you think you can or you think you can't, like either way, you're right. Like how you go into things and what you focus on creates so much of your results. And as you guys are going into your weekend right now, like I think about the top people and how they go into things. And it's like, are you wondering like, oh, I wonder like if they're going to buy? That was me when I started, by the way. My closing was also super low and my average order because I didn't really expect it. And so instead, what I noticed the top people would ask is like, oh, I wonder what they're going to get. Right. And so like, they weren't like thinking like, oh, I wonder if they're going to buy. They were just like, of course they're going to get, like, why would they not? Like, it's so good. Right. And these guys had 85, 90%, even 95% closing ratios. But it was this belief that they had, when they showed up, like, they're like, I can't wait to show Miss Jones everything. I wonder what she's going to like. I wonder what she's going to get, and if they didn't buy, it was like, really? Like, they were like shocked. And I remember going field training and I was like, and that really shifted because I really saw how much people did love Cutco, and how that when you showed up and like had fun with them, like the majority ended up getting something, but the big key is like, you've got to have a good time. Cool. Again, you're learning how to sell yourself. And so the more fun you can have, the better it's going to be. The more serious you take yourself, the more like perfect and rigid you are, the worse it is actually, and so loosen up and have fun because you get paid just to do this. There's no obligation for them to get, but what we know is that the more fun you have and the more that they like the product and the more they like you, like they rather get stuff from you than from them all, so if they like it, they feel it's worth it, they're going to end up getting something. We are popping off with sales right now. It's so exciting to see just in the first couple of days of this week, the sales reports that are happening. We've got, I know Frank, I posted yesterday for the first part of the push and what's happening because we're in our season opener right now, which ends on Wednesday. And I had shared with our group, we have Francisco from our office, Herrera, who's just shy of 10,000 so far for this past week, 9884. KP, who's at 8,510, Matthew Laura, who's at 5,904, Frank Delgado is at 4,309, Nadia, and I can just, show up. There we go. There it is. But just some awesome reports starting off the season opener. And we know that there's going to be so much more. Like this weekend, it's just huge. And as we're going into summer, like the weekends, the family gatherings, the barbecues, the grilling, all the activities and festivities that happen throughout the course of the summer are just so huge for us. Okay. So I wanted to review real quick, how does pay work, right? You guys saw it in the interview. You guys have watched all this, but I just wanted to do a quick recap so you guys can see and just how quickly you can hit promotions. Okay. So to recap, you guys have a two-part pay program, right? There's a guaranteed base pay, and then there's a commission side. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to do my best to draw as nice as I can so you guys can see this. But let me actually first walk through, let's say you had your first 7 appointments. Okay. And let's say appointment number 1, you sold $400. Cool. Let's say appointment number 2, you had a no sale. Let's say appointment number 3, you sold a galley set or something. All right. Let's say appointment number 4, you had $100 sale. Let's say appointment number 5, you had a no sale. Let's say appointment number 6, bought like, I don't know, a peeler or something. We'll just put, I'm going to keep round numbers for math. Let's say appointment number 7, you sold like $250. Cool. And so those are your first 7 appointments. So you had 7 appointments, you had 5 sales. All right. And you sold a total of, let's say you're $300, $400, $400, $1,600. Cool. And so here's how we calculate your paycheck. All right. Every time, this is what we look at. And so we're going to look at 2 parts here. We're going to look at what you earned off of your base and what you, what you guaranteed, what you got off your base. And we're going to look at what you got off of your incentive. All right. And again, as you guys have heard and know, and I want to repeat and make sure this doesn't get lost, you're always going to get whichever one is higher of the 2, okay? Not both. Everyone got that? So the base is always there as a security to fall back on. And The incentive, there's no ceiling as to what you guys can earn. Okay. So in this case, we did 7 appointments. So it's 7 times 20. We know that you're guaranteed to make 140. Cool. Everyone good? A thumbs up. All right. Now on the incentive, we're going to look and say, okay, you sold $1,600. That was your CPO. We're going to talk about that later with writing up orders. So if you guys look at the commissions, which I know have been shared throughout training, and you guys will have in your book, between 0 to 1,000, you guys earn 10%, right? That's the first level. So off the first 1,000, you guys make $100. Cool. From $1,000 to $3,000, you guys make 15%. Okay. So in this case, we had another 600 at 15%. Okay. So 600 at 15% is $90. All right. That's how I got that. So 600 times, this is, I'm just going to put here 15%. Is how I got that $90 number. Is everybody good? All right. So your total commissions, all right, total incentive on this is 190. Everyone good? All right. So that's what you earned off incentives. So what is your pay for the week? Your pay is going to be whichever one is higher. So in this case, your higher one is the 190. Cool. So that's going to be your paycheck. That's what that would look like. All right. Now, let's say that you didn't have that last $250 sale. Okay. So let's say that this, oh, it erased my whole thing. All right. No worries. We're just going to remove 750. All right. So I'm going to say that I had those 7 appointments. Okay. And I had 4 sales, and my total sales came out to $1,350. All right. So that last one, instead of it being $250, was a no sale. So $1,350. So in this case, okay, you would have earned $152. So actually the commission's still higher. So let's go with a different, let's just say you had 3 sales and they totaled $1,050. Okay. So what we know is you're guaranteed 140, right? So this is a different example here. So off of your commissions, you'd have made $100 off the first 1,000, and off the $50, $7.50. So in this case, I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to, let me just put this here. So I'm using a completely different example. Okay. So not this one here. So we're going with 1,050 CPO, all right, on this order. And so we earned $100 off the first 1,000, and then $7.50 off the next part. Okay. So you made $107.50. So in this case, what's higher? Well, what's higher is the 140, right? Okay. But I want to show you guys how this works, because the base pay is always, the incentive pay is always paid by corporate. Okay. So only in New York, corporate team. So I'm going to put corporate pays. Everyone got that? So anytime you sell anything, corporate's going to pay you for it, no matter what. Cool. You're always going to get paid for whatever commissions. The base pay is paid by us, all right, the manager, me, or Claudia, whoever your manager is. So manager guarantees this, all right? Now, in order to be guaranteed that, there are some prerequisites that have to happen. Somebody who's guaranteed the base pay must be an active member of our office. Claudia will go over communication later, but it requires 3 things. Number 1 is to show up twice a week. Sundays, we do your payroll. If you're out of town, you just schedule a different time, but you meet with a manager to do your payroll on Sundays. And then Wednesday nights, we have our team meeting. So we see all of our reps twice a week. So that's the first thing, is team meeting attendance. Cool. And so that's just to make sure like all payroll's done. You're constantly learning. We always give tips on Sundays, and on Wednesday nights, there's learning. Wednesday night is more of a recognition night, learning, bonding. We make calls together, and then we have our team night out. Cool. So if that's the first thing of being active. Number 2 is they have to check in and out every day that they work. Cool. So clocking in and clocking out. If somebody's not clocking in and out on the days that they work, and by the way, and from every appointment when you're brand new, and again, Claudia's going to walk through this. So just make sure that you guys pay attention to that. But you should call in from every demo until you're at 30,000. And by the way, I've had, Sean Triggy on that wall hit 30,000 his first week. That's not normal, by the way. It's a great summer goal. Means you made about $9,000 this summer, by the way. But that's the second thing, is that you are clocking in and out appropriately. Cool. So that's super important. And then the third thing is that you're doing at least, one phone jam at the office throughout the course of the week, outside of Sunday and Wednesday night. Cool. So it could be like you show up for lunch for an hour, or you come to one of the champions clubs, right? We have champions club every day, 6 days a week. So you come to one of those, or just something where you're learning, right? Like, we want to reward. And the reason we have that guaranteed base is so that you guys have no stress, right? And you can just go have fun and learn. We want to make sure that people that want to learn, and they're not just trying to cheat the system, right? Because what we know is that as you improve, as you develop, these numbers get really exciting. Okay. So here's how this rolls. If this were your check that week, all right. And so I'm going to see if this lets me, let me see if I can select what I want to. I'm still learning how to use all this. All right, don't worry about it. All right, so let me show you guys this here. So I'm gonna clear this. So in this example, actually, let me finish this one. So if you were earning the 104 because you did 107, all right, so I'm right here looking at this versus what you were guaranteed. Here's how this would look on your paycheck. On your paycheck, it will say, commissions from sales, all right? So commissions, I can't spell right now. Commissions from sales. And that will be 107.5, cool. And then what you're gonna see on the next line is you're gonna see minimum base pay. All right, so what we were guaranteed to you was to make 140. So what this looks like is we'll do 140 minus 107.5 is 32.50 in base pay, all right? And then it'll say total check 140. Does everyone see this? Okay. And so that total check of 140 is what we had guaranteed here. So that 140 here, all right, is the 140 that you guys saw over here. Everyone good? All right. So that is the matchup of you getting that guaranteed 140. So again, whatever you earned off commissions, you're going to get from your commission side. Cool. And then if we ever owe you the base, we give you the difference so that you have a total check that's guaranteed that base amount. Can I get a thumbs up? Does that make sense to everybody? All right. So, so a couple examples, we had somebody, we'll clear all stuff. We had somebody, they did 6 appointments. Okay. And they sold $1,800. Okay. So when we looked at what this looks like, we're like, okay, this person was guaranteed to make 120, all right, with the base pay of $20, versus what did they actually make off of their commissions? They earned 220, all right. So commissions is higher, all right. And then, so this would be their check, all right. But then we have like Smirtis, his first weekend, Smirtis had 7 appointments, okay. And he had 1 sale, and he had 1 sale for like 90 CPO, okay. So he was guaranteed 140, all right. And his commissions was $9, okay. So his paycheck, again, it said $9 from commissions, okay. And then it had 131, all right, from base pay, all right. So that was the base pay guarantee to make sure that he made a minimum of $140 total check. Cool. All right. And so that was Smirtis's first check. By the way, the next week, he sold almost on every single appointment after advanced training, became one of our top reps that summer. His average order went up to over $800. He averaged 28 recommendations, and he helped me open an office in Philadelphia 2 years later. All right. He became one of our best. And I share that because some people have a slower start, right? Like he struggled out the gate. I was like, dude, doesn't matter. Just learn, ask questions. That's something I always share with people is that when you guys leave here today, there's 3 paths people go on. Okay. Most of you will be right on the averages, maybe a little lower, maybe a little higher, right? But 400 is an average, or 450 is an average sale. And so it's going to vary. All right. Some of you guys American made. Some of you guys might be a little bit lower. All right. And some of you guys are going to be a little bit higher. All right. So like Reagan out the gates has had over a $600, I think it's like 633, her average order. All right. And it's not it's a good or a bad thing. It just is. So whatever that is, you know, we're going to look at that with you guys and just make sure that we're helping you maximize, you know, your business. All right. But you guys will be able to look at your averages. You'll be able to connect with others. Right now, this morning, you guys are going to finish setting up your account on Vector Connect. All right. Which looks like this. So you guys will set these up here in a bit. And you'll be able to log in to your own Vector Connect account. All right. And so on here, this is where you're going to be putting all your orders online. You'll be able to see everything. I love being able to see all the stuff. So you can see like, okay, what were the top offices last week? All right. Across the nation. It shows the top reps. These are brand new reps, by the way. Pretty cool. Number 10 earned over $1,000. And number 1 brand new rep last week, guys, made over $3,700. Like, who would be excited about that? That's pretty awesome. And then it shows you like people who've done this a little bit longer. These guys, most of them make 50% commissions. And then we have our Cutco sales professionals. Guys, these guys do this for a living. They make half. So number 1 in the nation last week, guys, get this. They made $39,000. That's what more than my sister made in a year. And she had her master's and almost her PhD in education. And this guy made that last week, what my sister makes in a year. Okay. But Danny earning over $22,000. And, you know, you guys can do math, just divide it in 2. They make 50% commission. So as you can see, people can definitely make a living, make a life here, which is pretty cool. All right. When you guys go to my account, all right, there'll be something called personal reports. And on personal reports, you'll actually be able to see you'll be able to see all your averages. So this shows you like right here, national average order is $457. Do you guys see that? Okay. And so you guys can see the numbers, you know, the lowest is 393. Our office is 477. All right. Regionally, it's 498. And so just so you guys can see, but you'll see where you fall in comparison, you know, to the others. And then bonus points, how much you give away for free, which we're going to talk about today with doing deals. All right. But it's just all averages. So what I was saying is some of you guys are going to be below. You might be at 250 or 300 or 350. Some of you guys are going to be higher. That's why it's called an average. All right. The most important thing is that you're getting in front of the right people and you're having fun and you're following your manual and you're calling the office. Cool. If you can smile, read, cut, you know, call the office, or if you're doing it virtually, just like get excited, you know, like even if you're not cutting stuff up, as you walk through the videos, get excited for them because that makes a really big difference. Okay. And so how do we keep track? How do we watch everything, do everything? So the app, entering everything into the app, making sure all your goals are in the app, making sure every appointment, everything's done through the app. That's how we can see and verify your work. Okay. And so we want to make sure that before you guys leave today, you're feeling comfortable with the app because we want to make sure that we're able to really capitalize on that properly. All right. So we want to make sure that we have that. So this right here, Molly uploaded into the chat. You guys want to go ahead and download this so that you have it accessible and ready to use. Okay. So please go ahead and download that real quick. I'm going to go ahead and share it here on my screen so that you guys can see this. Okay.
And then really quickly, yep. Spencer's computer has crashed again.
Okay, cool.
So nobody in the training room is able to hear you right now.
Okay, awesome. So this document, those of you at the office will receive a physical copy of it, but we can get this out to everybody. And just so you have it, this is the qualified presentation report sheet. And so I wanted to walk through this real quick. As you guys are doing your appointments, at the end of every appointment, we want you guys filling this out. It has the date and time you did an appointment, customer name and phone number, who you saw. This would be like, are they married? Are they average age? Do they own a home, right? So like if they're single, like my best friend's mom, she was an AC, right? She was these two. She was single, but she was 45. She owned a house. She had a great business. She just was divorced and did not want to be married by choice. So she was one of my exceptions, who was a good one. And then, I saw my parents, that was my other exception. So we give everyone up to 2 exceptions your first weekend. They have to be approved by a manager. Okay. So my parents were my other exception. They were married and average age, but they didn't own their own home yet at the time, and so I didn't see them as one of my first appointments. I saw them late at night, Saturday night. Is when I did their appointment, and so like definitely we want you to see your parents. We want them to see what you're doing. We want them to be excited to help you, build your business. But if your parents are one of your top people, see them first. If they're not, see them later on at night or Saturday night or something, and make sure you keep your prime time appointments for your best customers. Okay. The next column is who was actually like there. Okay. So this is the type of customer you saw. So maybe they're a MAC customer, but when you did the appointment, it was the wife alone. Okay. And so that's what you're putting here. So if the husband and wife were both there, you're going to put a B. If it's a single person, you're going to put an S. If you saw the wife alone, you're going to put a W. And if you saw the husband alone, you're going to put an H. Now, by the way, we should not see many H's because you don't have a guaranteed pay to see husbands alone, just so you guys know. Again, talk to us if there's an exception for something. But on the regular basis, do not see husband. You will see wives alone, and maybe, again, the random stay-at-home husband that you'll bump into. But as a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home, like their job is to take care of the house, you just want to make sure that it's a middle upper income because if they're just staying home because they can't afford childcare, that's different than they're staying home because one person makes way more, than 2 people would have earned, and they just don't need to work. So those are different situations. So you just want to be careful with that. My aunt, was working 3 jobs to support her kids and pay her mortgage. Like that's not, even though she had a house, she was struggling to keep it, like that's not the best prospect. You want to make sure that they're comfortable, they work full time, like they're feeling good. That's where you're going to have your best sales. All right. And if you don't have a lot of those people at first, when I first started, what I did was I just asked for them, I'm like, oh, who do you know that owns their own business? Who do you know that works from home? Who do you know that's a stay-at-home mom? Who do you know that throws the best parties? Who do you know that loves to cook? And so I would ask when I got referrals, which you guys are going to talk about later today, but I would ask for who I wanted, and I got so many great people from that. Okay. Then you're going to put your net CPO, which you're going to learn later when you put your orders online, how to get that, like what that is. If they didn't buy, you write why they didn't buy, because that helps me so much be able to help you in your business and help adjust and help you keep improving. Okay. So I need to know what they're saying because I know by seeing that where it roots from. Okay. Then recommendations, how many did they give you? So in this case, John gave him 20. And the number of yeses is just like if they talked to them for you or they called or they texted their friends and they're like, oh, these people all want to see it, and so how many have already said yes to doing the appointment with you. All right. And so that's what we're looking at there. And then demo check-in, whoever you spoke to. So if you called in and talked to Molly, it's going to say Molly. You called in and talked to Jackie, it's going to say Jackie. So make sure you know who you're talking to and ask them so that you can put that on your paper. Okay. And so then at the end of the week, we're going to tally the number of demos. So we do this once a week. We tally up the number of demos you did for the week. We tally up the number of sales that you had. And then we add up the CPO. And then we do what I showed you guys before. And we figure out what were you guaranteed? What did you earn off commissions? And if we owe you anything, we add the base to it. But most of the time, commissions are higher. Cool. The base pay is just there as a safety net to fall back on. We know people sell a lot of Cutco, and 90% of the time, your commissions are going to be higher, but it's just nice to have that floor to stand on. So there's no stress and you can just go have fun. All right. Now, can anyone tell me, you can unmute there at the office, you can put here, but I'd love to hear, why do you think we have that sheet? Anybody? Why do you think we have that sheet? Or Ashton, you can speak. Anybody at the office? Anybody, why do you think we have that?
Keep track of your goals, maybe? To see how much you're earning in sales yourself.
Yeah.
Like how much you're doing.
That goes right to it, to track your progress. Cool. And so, you know, I've had people before and they're like, oh, for our pay. I'm like, well, like I said, 90% of the time your commissions are higher. So your pay, we can see it off your orders. But what this does, this is like, Ashlyn, let's say like you're feeling a little bit sick, right? And you're going to the doctor and they know what they're like, they've been trained in this, right? And they can look in your ear. They're like, listen to your heart, like breathe in, you know, they check a couple things and they're like, oh, you've got da-da-da, you know, and they'll give you a prescription and make you better. Well, guys, I am the best freaking doctor that you're going to get. One of the best. There are some other pretty outstanding people across the nation. But I've been doing this for over 20 years. I mean, I can look at this and in a heartbeat know exactly what's happening. And I coach our guys on how to do that. They'll be like, hey, Kat, here it is. And I'll look at it and I'm like, oh, they need help with this, help them with that, you know? And so you can always keep growing. And so this lets me check things out. And like right away, I can diagnose you and I can give you a prescription to make you better. Cool. So I remember, Crystal, her first week on the job, you know, Crystal had turned this in. By the way, if you hadn't seen this, her overall results was that she had done 13 appointments. Okay. She had 11 sales. Does that sound good? Can I get a thumbs up or thumbs down? Heck yeah. I mean, 11 out of 13, I'm in. All right. So she had 13 appointments. She had 11 sales and she sold a total of like right over $3,000. Okay. So right away, I know there's an area of opportunity because her average order was around 300 and the national average is over 400, right? So right away, I knew there was an opportunity. But if she hadn't filled out the paper, I wouldn't know exactly what it is. I'd have to dive in a little more. But she had her paper filled out and I saw homemaker, piece, no sale, piece, homemaker, piece. She sold one knife, all right, or a homemaker. She had sold 2 regular homemakers and 1 in discount, and then sold like 1 piece, like $40, $70, $60, $50, like just 1 piece to everybody else. And so when I saw that, I was like, whoa. And so I knew right away that she definitely there was a disconnect with dropping down because there was nothing in between and there's so much more stuff. And so I was like, hey, Crystal, I had a nice job on your homemakers and nice job reserving first call specials, but what happened all in between? And she started laughing. She's like, well, they all wanted the homemaker. They just couldn't do it today. So I told them if they just get 1 piece, they're going to get in the system and then they can get the deals when they're ready. And I was like, oh, I said, well, why didn't you just drop down and show them a galley or started like, oh no, they really wanted the homemaker. And I said, all right, cool. I go, let me show you how to drop down in a way that serves the customer and let them know, like, it's super easy to upgrade in the future. So like, if they're definitely not going to get a homemaker today, guys, and this is something that, you know, you guys are going to talk about with dropping down, but if they're not going to buy a homemaker today with whatever deals or whatever we gave them, no problem. Okay. Let's drop down. Your job is to help them find what's best for them today. Everyone got that? And so today it might be easier to spend $200 or 300, or it might be more comfortable to spend $70 because their kid just crashed their car and like had a bunch of extra expenses or, you know, whatever it might be. So just understand that, that a homemaker, you know, everyone might not feel comfortable doing that today. But the other side of that is if you guys are showing the payments, it makes it pretty easy, you know, because think about all these parties and graduations and whatever, you go buy stuff, you spend $200 at like every store. It's just like, let's go buy balloons and decoration, whatever, you spend this, whatever. And for a family that works full time, an extra $200 is not a huge deal. Cool. For someone that lives paycheck to paycheck, that's different. But like yesterday, I went to the store randomly, my aunt saw something and I was like, oh, let's get this for you. Spent $150 in 5 minutes that I wasn't planning on spending, right? But it was like a gift to her. And I was like, cool, like not a big deal if you work full time and have those funds, right? But when I was younger or I was living paycheck to paycheck or for my family, like they have to, you know, count pennies to make sure they save up for that. And so it's different places. So just being, you know, being mindful of that, of you're almost teasing people, you know, if you're seeing people that are not qualified because they want it, but they can't, you know, do it. So anyway, long story short, I showed her how to drop down properly. And I said, hey, just tell them like, hey, is the homemaker something you definitely, you know, like if they're like, I just can't, Kristen, I just can't do it today, but I really want that set. Because what she was getting is when she said, oh, well, let me show you something small. I was like, no, I want that one, right? And so she was like, okay, you know, and just help them get 1 piece. And I said, so when they say, no, I want that one, you want to say, hey, awesome. I said, well, hey, is this for sure the set that you want to have like in the future? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, awesome. I'm like, well, hey, I'm gonna be your Cutco girl for life. I'm like, if it's cool with you, I'd love to show you some smaller options. I'm like, we have options that today you only pay $95 or $100 and you get a really nice set, like a starter set. And whenever you're ready, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, whenever you're ready, I can upgrade you super easy and you're going to get great discounts and deals. I'm like, is it cool if I just show you those real quick? And so her and I practiced that. And guys, the next week she sold homemakers, a gourmet set, galley, starters, studio set, essential set, space saver set. Like she sold so many different sets, and her average order automatically, guys, went up to 480, just from like dropping down better, right? And so that was something that if I hadn't seen that sheet, we couldn't have figured that out that quickly, right? I had another guy, Nick Lay, who turned in his sheet, and he was like freaking out. He was like so sad because he had done, what was it? Let me think. He had seen 5 Macs and 3 of them bought. And then he had seen another 6 single people. So it was 11 appointments. Okay. He had 11 appointments and he had 4 sales. And so he was like freaking out. He came in, he's like, I thought I was going to do better. He's like, I only had 4 sales out of 11. And I was like, hey, don't stress. Like, you just started. First of all, something totally new. So do not beat yourself up because it's a learning process, right? I go, but let's look at your stuff. And when we pulled up and looked at his freaking sheet, I wish I had it to show you guys as an example. But on his sheet, he had, 11 appointments. But when I looked at this column here of who he was seeing, only 5 of them were actual MAC customers. And by the way, out of those MAC customers, he sold 3 sales and he sold about $1,200. So he was actually like exactly on the averages, and then the other 6 people that were single people, he sold on 1 of them, and he sold a fishing knife, And so I told him, like, when we did his pay, his commissions was still higher at the time. And I looked at him and I laughed and I was like, dude, you made off of your commissions, $140. And I said, you could have like chilled at the beach, like some of that's like, this is a long time ago. But I said, you could have chilled at the beach and you would have made the same check, and he was like, I'm like, you didn't do a bad job. You just weren't ready for those shots yet. Okay. There's a reason we teach you guys to do it the way we do it. And like the whole like layup, the basketball analogy, it's like this weekend, you guys want to get really good at getting your layups down. Cool. That's all we really taught you. And then again, if you have a random exception for a close jump shot, like you just have to talk to a manager so we can see who it is and see it. Okay, that one will be a relatively easy shot, or that's going to be a tough shot. Just wait, because after I meet with you guys on Tuesday morning, Spencer and I are going to bring the goods for advanced training. The more you do between tonight and Tuesday morning, the more beneficial Tuesday morning will be. Cool. Because things will just like make sense. Like you're like, oh, or like you might call in Ashton and we do like a deal for you over the phone. And we're like, oh, you can do da-da-da. And you're like, you have no idea what this is, but you're like, I'm like, just write it down, explain this to the customer, and you tell them, and they do it or they buy it. And then on Tuesday, I explain to you the trade and special, I explain to you certain things, and you're like, oh, that's what I did. I'm like, yeah. And so like, you let us work through you this weekend. The more we do that, the more Tuesday will like connect the dots and click, and you'll feel so much more confident going into the rest of your week. Okay. So I just want to say that is make sure, like that the base pay, and I'll kind of end with this, like, that base pay is there as a security net. Cool. It's insurance. And so it's just like any insurance, right? Car insurance, house insurance, like something happens, it's there if you need it. Okay. But I also want to say this. I want to remind y'all, if you don't know, if you purposely crash your car into the wall to get car insurance money, it's called insurance fraud. I don't know if you guys know this, but that means your ass can go to jail. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. Okay. So same thing here, be honest, right? We work on an honor system. Those papers randomly get flagged by corporate. You do not want to be someone that gets flagged. It's not going to be a good situation and will lead to illegal things, and also, like, don't you think it looks funny if someone submits a paper and it's like 1 for 10, or whatever, like, it's just not something we see very often, like the company knows the averages, we've tracked it for decades, and the average order keeps going up, and that's just because inflation and prices go up too, right? But like they know the averages. So when they see that, it's like an automatic red flag. And guys, that means even one false appointment can put you in a really shitty position. Okay. I had a kid once, some stuff looked shady. And so, he was red flagged. And when they called to verify his appointments, there was like Pizza Hut, like their buddies was on there, like their friend that was like 18 or 17, like just people that were not MAC customers, right? And so there was falsified information on the paper. And so I had called him and I'd said, hey, we need to speak, there's some legal issues or whatever. And so, I asked his parents, to come with him. He was younger, and we sat down and met, and I said, hey, your people were contacted and here's the results. I said, or at first I asked him, are there any appointments here that you actually didn't complete? Maybe you were going to do them and you put them on here, but you never got to complete them. By the way, if you guys do that, take them off if you didn't complete it so that you're not lying. And he's like, oh, well, I didn't get to do that one, but like I was going to, and I forgot. And I go, okay, is there anything here that's not a MAC customer, or any exceptions that we need to talk about? And he was like, no. And I was like, okay, well, when they called, this was Pizza Hut. This was 17-year-old, and I said, that's stealing, like that's insurance fraud that you were committing. And I told his parents, I'm like, I don't know what you guys want to do with this. I said, but I'm not cool with that. The base pay comes from me, and that's you stealing from me. You don't want to get on this Puerto Rican's nasty side. And I told the parents, I said, I'm not cool with that. I said, that's legal. That's literally like you go to jail. That is a felony. And I said, so I can press charges, and I will press charges if I need to. I've done that to one person before. I don't want to do that. And so usually we try to figure something out. And come to good terms, but it's just not a situation you want to be in. Okay. And I told him, because he was like, well, it was just that one, or I don't know, one or two. And I looked at him and I laughed. I go, that's like if you went to Macy's, right? And you like bought a bunch of stuff and then you stole some shit and then they caught you and you're like, but I bought stuff. Like, just because you bought stuff doesn't mean you can steal shit. Okay. So keep that in mind. Just be honest, with your sheet. We put a lot of trust in that, and the fact is some of you guys won't be here a week or two from now, because we'll find out there's maybe some character flaws that we didn't know about. Right. And so just like, again, our team, positive, honesty, teamwork, like those are things that we care about, and just seeing people who are excited about growth. All right. So this is a program to help you guys evolve as people. So anyway, I'm going to pass things back over, but I wanted to cover that. So make sure that you guys are tracking every appointment you do. Make sure you guys are calling in. Make sure if you have anyone that's an exception, you're getting that exception from the managers to make sure you're good, or you should save it until we give you a little bit more skill set, because after Tuesday, you're going to be like, oh, and I always have people like, oh, if I would have known that, I would have sold to my aunt, or I would have sold to again. I'm like, I know. That's why I told you to wait. Don't spoil the leads, because we're going to teach you everything, and we're going to meet with you Thursday night before the phone jam. We're going to give you some extra tips to help you for the weekend. And if you guys come to Champions Club, you guys want to kick asses. Anyone wants to hit 10K, by the way, if you were here earlier for the high flyer, every day, you don't even have to do it at 7 a.m. Come to Champions Club every day at 10:15, like rock an 8:30 demo or 9 a.m. Come to Champions Club, come learn, come focus, and then go rock out from noon through the rest of the day, like whatever appointments you want to do. Even if you do that 3 times a week, that's going to really benefit you. But the guys that have hit 10K plus, we met with them every single day, their first 10 days. Not required, but for those who really want to achieve, strongly encouraged. And I've never had someone that went out and made $2,000 to $5,000 their first week that wasn't with us every day their first week. So you shorten learning curve, you get a lot better at the job faster. You have mega support. Take advantage of that. I think that's pretty incredible to be able to have that. And our guys are super excited to help you guys. And like I said before, the harder you work, the harder we work for you. And so just know that, and know that we're excited to support.